All right, here we go. Welcome to Bean Talk. This is your host, Coach Liebs, and we are back and better than ever.
See, from the sidelines, we gotta hustle because we gotta eat. From the sidelines, we got some goals that we still gotta reach. Yeah. Reach. Yeah. Stop.
Coming to you live from our brand new Sideline Hustle studios here in Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to the team for getting this all together, getting us settled here, and we are now finally off and running since moving down to Atlanta. We thought long and hard about how we wanted to bring Sideline Hustle content back, how we wanted to kick off our new and improved Bean Talk series. And, we first thought about, should it be me and Dario Highsmith? Dario is my assistant coach, my right-hand man, the guy who helps me, make all the magic happen behind the scenes as far as on the training side. We thought about, should the first episode be with Mohamed Sanu? Obviously, Mo is the catalyst of this whole thing, my main guy, guy who's really helped me, establish my whole reputation and really been, become one of my closest friends. And obviously Bean Talk is his clothing and lifestyle brand that he created. The reason why we started this show and named it Bean Talk was because of the initial collaboration with Mo 2 or 3 years ago. But despite all those ideas, we had a few others. Here I am in the new and improved Sideline Hustle studios, alone by myself, bringing you guys episode 1. And there's just something that feels right about that. And I think what I really want to accomplish, in this first discussion, just sitting here talking to y'all, me and the camera, is just kind of go through my journey of how we got here. We're at the point now where we work with over 20 athletes in the NFL. I get to pick and choose who I want to work with, guys at the highest level, some of the best players in the league. And it really started, from just grinding it out as a young college football coach, sleeping in the press box my first year at Albany, to now we're here. And I think what I just really kind of want to share that journey and share what I've learned. And if there's one thing I've learned, probably the main thing that I've learned about myself and about all the great players and coaches I've been around is that greatness happens when you're alone. Greatness is formed in the dark. And that's why there's just something that feels right about me being in my own studio with the door closed and nobody around, just kind of spilling this from the heart, because it's been a really crazy journey to get here. It's something that's meant a lot to me. It's something that's hard for me to talk about without getting emotional. It's been really hard, and it's been really long, and we've really, I think, done something that no one's really done in the sport of football, as far as just the services we offer, the way we did it. I didn't play in the NFL. I didn't have a father who coached in the NFL. I don't have any relation to football at the highest level. I was a backup D3 quarterback, a short, average, athletic Jewish kid from Long Island, and now am coaching some of the best players in the world. And I think, I'm one of the best coaches in the world at what I do as far as this receiver shit. Like there's not a lot of people that can do what I do and bring the results that I've brought, that over and over with client after client. Guys have come to me for results and come to me for improvement, and they found it. And now it's at the point where I'm finally stepping into my own and actually feeling true confidence in what I do. I think the beginning stages of coaching guys at the highest level was kind of just like this shock and awe. I used to have these days where we would have 6, 7 back-to-back, one-on-one NFL training sessions in Atlanta when we first got here, right? We've just been exclusively working with guys one-on-one. And we used to have these days, Mo Sanu, Evan Engram, Chris Conley, Darius Slayton, Demir Bird, Olamide Zacchaeus. That would be a day's lineup of guys we were training. And all these guys who I think are great players and going to be even better this year. And I would be driving home some days kind of pinching myself, yo, can you believe we're really doing this? Can you? And that's what it was like in the beginning. It was a little bit just crazy that we got here. As much as it at times is like a pinch me moment, throughout the whole journey, I've always known that this is where I was supposed to be. And I've always known I was capable of helping guys at the highest level. And I've always known that, I was talented enough to help guys and could bring value to guys at the highest level. But now the shift is, there's no longer really that I think there was the beginning of guys kind of seeking the work and and getting on the field with so many great players in the city of Atlanta and guys traveling from afar to come to Atlanta to work with us, there was a bit of like that just, can you believe we made it? Like Tim Grover talks about in his book, Winning. He goes, winning isn't about the parades and the celebration and the aftermath. Like winning is about, setting your sights on something that seems unfathomable, working for it day after day, and then actually coming to a moment where you realize, like, holy shit, I caught it. Like I caught that thing that was so out of reach that I chased for so long. And winning is that moment where you realize you caught it. And that was the beginning stage of moving to Atlanta. Was like, I started off as a young, coach at Albany, who then went to Rutgers, who then was the youngest coach in the Big Ten, who then quit. And I just was like, I don't like the lifestyle. I don't want to live like these coaches live in the office 18, 20 hours a day, never seeing their families, all these things. Like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I just quit and went back to Wesleyan. I got my master's, thought I was going to start to write a book about the hilarious, crazy things I learned and saw while coaching college football. That book turned into the Sideline Hustle football podcast. The Sideline Hustle football podcast guys were like, hey, you should start breaking down film. You should start putting stuff out on Instagram, whatever. This was, 4 years ago when Instagram was just getting big. And so I did. I started breaking down film. And that's when NFL guys started to find me. And that's when, guys started reaching out like, who the hell are you? How do you know this much? Like, that's when we started the series called Teach Tapes, where I was breaking down, basically telling the story of each play, of how receivers got open, how offensive plays worked, all these things, and kind of just breaking down the game on social media in a way, as far as the way it was delivered and the packaging of the content. We did it in a way that no one had really ever done before. And I was telling my own story and kind of reinventing the game of how you can use social media to educate the world about football. And, then once that kind of caught fire, just been ripping and running ever since, just kind of continuing to create content, continuing to build myself into a personality, continuing to build the Sideline Hustle brand, and continuing to deal with all the athletes that started to reach out. And when I started this, I never expected that I would be sitting here in a brand new, incredible studio at my apartment in Atlanta with 20 NFL clients, coming to you as a guy with hundreds of thousands of followers on social media, been to Europe and back, done all these crazy things. I would have never thought that this was a lane or an avenue that I was going to go down. But it just kind of happened organically. And that's why, it just happened from putting out great content and realizing that I could provide value to guys at this level. And the craziest realization was kind of how much guys needed to learn and how much guys needed services of an independent coach, someone who could teach them the game, the details of the game at the highest level, someone who could hold them accountable and speak to them like a grown man and tell them the truth. One of the biggest things that NFL players don't have once they get drafted or once they sign to a team, once they have reached the pinnacle, NFL players, it's hard for them to find people in their corner who will tell them the truth. Because the people in their corner stop looking at them just as the human being that they are, and they start looking at them as a ticket or as a dollar sign or as an opportunity or oftentimes as a job and as a paycheck, right? Like that's just like a lot of guys who get drafted and are in positions of fortune are able to pay back and bring people along with them. But what comes with that, but taking care of those below you, is that they don't want to lose out on that blessing that is you taking care of them. They don't want to lose out on the free tickets or the money you might be giving them or, the experiences that come along with it or even just the clout of saying so-and-so is my best friend. So then they stop telling you the truth. They stop telling their friends, family, loved ones. There aren't a lot of guys there aren't a lot of people around guys in the NFL who tell them the truth. And just realizing this, that I could provide value as this private full-time coach, like I never would have expected in the beginning. Came from nothing, came from just being a young coach, grinding at Albany, at Rutgers, going back to my alma mater, getting my master's, and just kind of seeing the white space and seeing the avenue I could fill and then working my ass off to be the best coach I could be every day. And that's why, it was a bit of this. I've had a few pinch me moments, man. Like moving in with Mo last summer, which was well documented on social and all that. Like when I first moved in with Mo, that was a crazy experience, often at times overwhelming because it was like, holy shit, here I am, coaching one of the best receivers in the league, a guy who's been a 9-year veteran, consistently performed at a high level on Super Bowl teams, all this stuff. And he's now hired me to come into his home and live with him full time, to to help him, maximize his game. Like how the fuck did it get here? And then we did that and had our ups and downs, right? I started off with Mo Sanu moving into his house, and the first thing we did was get cut, bro. Do you know what that was like? Do you want to know this? And we documented every fucking second of the process. Now, he wasn't healthy. He was coming back from an ankle injury, but none of y'all knew that. So the amount of hate, the amount of bullshit that we dealt with in the comments and the DMs and in the media, people writing articles, like he's still, to this day, the New England fans are quick to talk about how Mohamed Sanu is the worst trade in Patriot history and all this bullshit. But what we learned through that lesson was so valuable, because we never let it bother us. We never listened to the noise. We never blinked for a second. We never slowed down, and we just kept at the work. And it went from, getting cut in New England to that was pretty shocking and pretty crazy to deal with. But we just went back to Atlanta and kept working, to then getting a chance in San Francisco, getting let go again 2 weeks later, to just going back to Atlanta and continuing working. And we just never stopped. We never stopped believing in each other, never stopped believing in the work, never stopped, believing in the vision we had set for ourselves and what we thought this could be. And then finally getting an opportunity with Detroit where Mo was playing at such a high level. Got signed to a practice squad contract in year 9, took the scout team reps, played his ass off to the point where he moved up the roster so quickly he was a starter 2 weeks later. And then was able to, he scored on Thanksgiving Day, played great and continued to play at a high level, filled the role as a starter and finished the season out with Detroit, and then got him back to being Mo Sanu, to where he's a respected veteran in the league, got himself a job. He's going to be the starter for the San Francisco 49ers this year and just have a great season. But that sort of staying by Mo's side through that process and continuing to develop him to the point where he's playing better. He's playing at a higher level than he's ever played in his whole career. And we both feel that way. And getting him to that point and dealing with the ups and downs of what it felt like to put all my eggs in a basket of kind of shutting out some of my other clients I had at the time, putting everything I could into Mo and his career and trying to take him to the next level, for it to result in disappointment that was in some ways out of our hands, other ways it was in our hands, and there were focus areas where we had to really take accountability for and get better. But in a lot of ways, the result of what happened in New England, San Francisco, was just a matter of health and financial situation with each team and those sorts of things. But to stick through that, to believe in ourselves, to find more within ourselves as we sat in our own darkness, as Mo had to sit there and find something deep inside himself to continue to get better at this stage of his career and continue to hold on to a vision that nobody else really believed in outside the two of us and maybe a couple close family members, for me to continue to push myself to figure out ways to make this man better, where I'm in a situation I've never been in. I've never coached NFL players full time. I've never been in charge of someone's complete development as a player, a person, and been, someone who's been trusted to be a catalyst to continue to move that forward. And now the first time someone takes a risk on me and gives me that opportunity, the first result is we get cut. And the fact that Mo kept the faith and didn't point fingers, and the fact that I didn't sulk very long, I think were both key factors in where he's at now. And you guys will see on Sundays this year, like, Mo's going to have an incredible year. And when everyone wrote him off and everyone said he lost a step, everybody said he was too old, everyone said he was this and that, everyone said I sucked and I fucked him up. There were all these narratives out there. We blocked out all the noise. And really what we found was the trust, the brotherhood, the bond that we created, I think, helped. But even bigger than that, we both found darkness. We both really had to decide who we wanted to be and what we were willing to sacrifice to back that up. We said a lot. We spent a lot of time on Instagram that first summer showing you guys every workout, having Mo on every bean talk, talking shit about how hard we were working, flying around the country to meet with Cam Newton, Odell Beckham, do all these things that it was a cool experience. And we worked really hard. But, the best advice I ever got before I moved down to Atlanta was from Keith Williams, Coach Dub. And this is a real gem that probably will go over a lot of your guys' heads. But the best advice he ever gave me was, don't make this into a reality TV show. And I think, something I've learned is that the downfall of a lot of players, a lot of trainers, a lot of guys who work at the highest level is they make this into a reality TV show. Meaning it becomes more about being an NFL player than it does about the work. It becomes more about coaching NFL players and who I'm coaching and what we're doing and all this shit than it does about the fucking results. All that matters is the results. Period. All the talking we did, all this, none of it mattered until Mo showed up, went from practice squad to starter in 2 weeks, scored on Thanksgiving Day, and then played at a high level from that point forward to where now we're just building on that. And we're only going to elevate from there. But don't make this into a reality TV show. It's only about the work. And I think that was a really important lesson to learn. I think, as somebody who came up in the game in a lot of ways through Instagram, right? In a lot of ways, my notoriety, the platform that I created and that Instagram and social media gave me, was through telling my story, creating educational content on social media. So a lot of, what I thought this was part of my business, part of the way me as an entity and as now a brand and everything, the way we kept thriving was sharing the process with y'all, was documenting everything for you guys to see so I continued to be relevant and be right. Like, that's just the business of media. But then I had to ask myself, like, what do I really want to be? Do I want to be the most popular coach on Instagram, or do I want to be the greatest coach who ever lived? Do I want to amass more Instagram followers? Do I want to create videos that have hundreds of thousands and millions of views? Or do I want to push my players past their limits and get the most out of them so that they can play at a level they've never played at and fuck all the other bullshit? Right? Like, those are just the questions I had to ask myself. And that's why when I moved to Atlanta, I made the decision that I'm not documenting the work. I'm not talking about how good we're going to be or how hard we're working. I'm going to film it all. I'm going to document it all. We're going to use it for film study. We're going to have it within our circles, but we're not going to share it. We're just going to focus on the work. We're going to shut up. We're going to show up every day and work at a level higher than the day before and back up who the fuck we say we are. Like, period. Like, what good does it do us to show a drill on social media just to make us feel good for a day or two so that all you guys think that we're working hard and are impressed with the way Mo or Evan or Chris or someone else looks in July? Who gives a fuck? None of it matters unless we show up on Sundays and play better. Like, period. None of my shit matters. None of the views I have, none of the following I have, none of my ability to educate the world or motivate the world on a bean talk, on an Instagram live, on a teach tape. None of that shit matters if the hours and the time and the work we put in don't result in better performances on Sunday. This is not about fucking participation conferences. This is not about participation awards. This is not about, showing up and doing your best. It's about fucking winning. It's about executing. It's about playing at a higher level than you've ever played. It's about setting goals for yourself that are so high. I would say the biggest thing that I think I've been able to accomplish, despite I've definitely a few things. I've been able to really teach the details of the game to guys that have helped them raise their game to another level. Right? Really, just each detail of releases, of route running, of catching the football, of situational football, all these things that I've been blessed enough to learn throughout my career from a lot of different mentors. Teaching the game, the details of the game at a high level, has definitely been a key to the success that we've seen and the results that we've produced. But honestly, when I have to sit down and think about it, the magic to this whole thing is I think that, I've been able to get guys to believe in themselves more than they ever have. And I think that, part of my ability to produce results in this field that many others can't produce or haven't produced, is that I don't see these players for what they are. I see them for what they could be. And, if I told you the goals that me and Mo talked about, you would laugh in our face, but it doesn't matter because we don't need anyone else's approval. I see that within Mo because I see what he could be if he maximized everything inside of him. If I told you the only acceptable result that Evan Engram and I have agreed on for his career, you might laugh at us, laugh in our face, but it's inevitable that's it's exactly what he has inside of him. And I think part of the magic of this that can't be shown on Instagram and can't be felt through social media are those conversations we have and are, me pushing players to go deeper into their own darkness and me finding more about myself in my darkness. And, what I mean by darkness is that place, this is, really from Tim Grover, and I got to give Tim a shout out. Like, Tim's been just a mentor of mine through some work, we've done together or through some work that, a client of mine hired him for. I've been able to talk to Tim quite a bit, and he's just really introduced us to the concept of darkness, and about darkness is the place that you go when you shut everything else out and just can focus on winning. What is it that gets you there, right? Like, what is your deepest, darkest motivation? Why are you trying to get more out of yourself? And I think just exploring that within myself has allowed me to push my athletes to places that they've never gone before, as I've grown to places I've never gone before. And just really recognizing the opportunity that's in front of us. I mean, like, just being able to play in the NFL is such an incredible opportunity, but do you really want to retire having just said you played in the NFL? Or is there more to this for you? And if there's more to it, if you sit at home at night in your darkest hours and dream of more, you really got to ask yourself if what you're doing is matching up with that. Is it going to help you get there? Are you doing everything you can? And it's not even about doing everything you can. Are you doing it in a way that makes sense? There are plenty of guys that work really hard, but just work on the wrong things and don't get any better. There's plenty of guys that, think they're working hard, but have never really experienced real work and are getting better, but not at the rate that they need to be to compete with those around them. Like I think there's part of, kind of finding your dark side. I think it's twofold, right? It's some sort of internal motivation, some sort of just probably past experience that shaped you, that molded you, that you, some vision you have for yourself, right? The way Tim puts it is the dark side is the vision you have for yourself. Who do you want to be in 20 years, 30 years, or what kind of man, how do you want to walk every day? What is that vision you have for yourself? But then the darker side, as he puts it, is the work you have to do every single day. And I think for me, at least, I have a vision for myself that is shaped by my past experiences. But then the darker side, the day-to-day work, the motivation to outwork everybody as best I can, that stems, for me at least, from proving people wrong, from people who have doubted me, from different things like that. Whereas my dark side, the deeper vision for what I do, if we want to get really real, I think what really motivates me and what really allows me to separate myself from anyone who does what I do is just the effort and the level of care and the love I have for my players, which then breeds a higher level of attention to detail, a higher level of effort and passion, a higher level of accountability, which then leads to this rapid growth that I've seen with a lot of my clients. And this stems from the fact that I lost my father when I was 15 years old. And since then, it's been this kind of pursuit of looking for male figures to take his place. And whether I've just outgrown different mentors, different guys have fallen short, or just like as time has it, just life progresses. But I have found myself kind of feeling alone throughout most of this and feeling like I don't have that male figure to look up to that I can rely on consistently, that can guide me through this process. There have been guys along the way that have certainly helped me, but I've just had this feeling of going at this thing alone for a while, and that's my darkest side. Now I find myself at 30 years old as this father figure, older brother figure, mentor for some of the best athletes in the world, and there's just nothing I take more seriously than that, because I know what it feels like. I know exactly what it feels like to need that sort of support and not have it, to need that figure in your life and not have it. And I also know what it feels like to not have any fucking idea that you need that in your life and not have it. A lot of guys, especially alpha males at the highest level, have no idea they need that sort of brotherhood and they need that sort of support and that sort of accountability until they get it. And I've been there. And so what motivates me, what my deepest, darkest motivation is to make sure that I can be that guy for all my clients, to the best of my ability. And that's the vision, right? That's the pure motivation. That is who I want to be. That is the role I'm trying to fill. That's the overall. But then the fire I get from that every single day is the thought of friends, family, teammates, coaches, peers, random people on Instagram, every fucking person that's ever not believed in me. Every little side comment or sub-tweet or, every sign of disbelief or doubt, or I've logged them all. I've kept every fucking receipt. And I tap into those things every day and think about, how I'm going to execute on the vision of who I want to be to prove that person wrong, because throughout my life, not only has it felt like I've been alone a little bit through this, but it's also, I've felt like there have been people close to me that I've wanted to feel them believe in me and they haven't. And at the time it felt devastating, but I've realized is really the secret to my motivation. That put an extra log on the fire and helped me go a little bit harder. And, and that's, again, why I'm sitting here doing the first episode of this show alone, because I don't know if I could have this conversation with other people in the room. I think that it needs to be shared. I think that it's important to me to get this off my chest. But like, this darkness shit is crazy. And I think that the biggest thing I've realized, going from this journey, like I said, of just being this young, naive college football coach to, quitting at the highest level just to do my own thing and do it my way without really knowing how it was going to turn out, to now being here where I'm in charge of the development for some of the best players in the world. I think that a lot of players, the best players in the world, get comfortable in their own darkness and they rely on just themselves for results. Sure, athletes might hire guys like me or other coaches, trainers to help take their game to the next level. But at the end of the day, me as a trainer or a coach, I'm only as good as my client allows me to be. I'm only pulling out what they have inside them. I can't give it to them and use that to elevate them. I can only take what's inside them and mold it and shape it and engineer it in a way that gets the most out of them. But there's no, like, I'm only as good as my client allows me to be. Right? I'm only effective if my client believes in me and trusts me and works his ass off and stays committed and stays accountable to the process and the journey that he must stay accountable to this journey we've agreed to go on together, even when I'm not around, even when nobody's around. Right? Because at the NFL level, the professional level, I'm not here to check up on you and make sure you're doing your shit. I'm here to elevate you. If I have to spend my time and energy remembering to check up on you, that's time and energy taking away from elevating you to the next level. It's your job to handle the little things. I might be here to help you figure out what those little things are that we have to handle. Like, that's the thing, right? It's different for every single guy. For Juwan Winfrey, it's about learning the playbook and staying healthy. For Mohamed Sanu, it's about refining some of his techniques, pushing his body to the limits, and then taking the techniques he's built his career on and then bringing him to the next level. His is a little more complicated because he's been in the league 9-10 years, right? But for Evan Engram, it's about believing in himself. It's about refining some of the details so the game slows down and he can make the easy plays and maximize those and turn those into big plays. For Chris Conley, it's about controlling the thoughts in his head while he's tired. For all these guys, right? The crazy thing is that when you get to the NFL and everybody is talented, the most talented in the world, it's not about talent that gets you to the next level. It's about mastering your craft and learning your body and knowing how to execute your job. Master your craft, learn everything you can about your body so that you can get everything out of it and know every detail about how to do your job. Your craft is your technique, right? The details of how and technique of how you get your job done, right? The way you run routes, the way you catch the ball, the way you get open. That's your craft, right? Your body obviously is your body. It's not getting bigger, faster, stronger just because coaches say get bigger, faster, stronger. It's about maximizing what you have inside of you. For some guys, that means losing weight. That means gaining weight. That means getting more flexible. That means whatever it might be. It's not about bigger, faster, stronger on some Olympic bullshit that the combine is. It's about getting bigger, faster, stronger in a way that maximizes your ability on the football field. How to get out of your stance with no wasted movement. How to create a pressure force off one step with no wasted movement so you can separate off one step. How to drop my hips with the perfect posture and not let my chest collapse over myself. Those are the things when you're maximizing your body and learning your body, it's to execute those things, because ultimately that's what we get paid for. We don't get paid to bench, squat, and clean. We get paid to break motherfuckers off and get open and catch the football. So if my training isn't working to maximize what I get paid to do, then my training is broken. The two have to connect. Right? Mo puts it better than anyone I've ever heard in the way this whole thing works together, right? You've got stretch people, body people, guys who maximize certain muscle groups. You have strength coaches, you have speed coaches, right? You've got guys like me who teach the technique and teach the game of football, right? And we're all working together like a NASCAR pit crew, right? Mo is the driver, the athlete is the driver. But then our strength coach, right? Coach Kyle Meadows, the speed coach, strength and conditioning coach, he's the engine. He provides the engine and he gives Mo the horsepower he needs so he can drive as fast as he can, right? And then we've got guys who do stretch therapy and body work that are like the engineers, right? Make sure the bolts are tight, everything's aligned perfectly, everything's working the exact way it should. And then there's someone like me who I'm there up in the booth helping Mo drive, right? Helping. How do we take this turn? How do we take that turn? What do we see here? Like I'm kind of the eyes and ears of how we can drive this whole thing and how it all works together. And I'm his co-pilot with that, right? But at the end of the day, we all work for him, the athlete, right? We are there to maximize his ability to drive. We are there to give him clarity, to empower him, to get the most out of him. So to work on a team like that, what that requires is that all the trainers involved drop their egos, because it's not about credit. It's not about I can't be a co-pilot if the engine fails or a screw comes loose, right? The screws being tightened doesn't matter if the engine fails or we don't have a co-pilot. All of us work together. We all depend on each other, right? Because we're not talking about just being in the race, right? Mo doesn't need any of us just to be in the race and drive a car with a couple screws loose where he's making the right turn sometimes he isn't, but he's still in the race and he's still finishing, he still has a career. Right? He can do that by himself. We're talking about winning the fucking race. Day after day after day after day after day. We're talking about maximizing the human body. We're talking about maximizing a guy who's known to be a technician in this sport, who's known to be one of the craftiest route runners of the last, decade or so. Right? And taking that and building on top of that even more and making him craftier and more detailed and more of an expert at what he does. Right? We're taking a guy who used to be a big, bulky, 240 pound bruiser during the beginning of his career in Atlanta, who was known to be a bigger receiver, to now, after ankle surgery, totally transforming his body, losing a bunch of weight to now where he's a slim, thinner, faster, more agile receiver and making these decisions so that he could play as long as he wants. Because for Mo, it's not about being an NFL player or being Mohamed Sanu or living a life of luxury or taking advantage of the luxuries that are afforded to 10-year NFL veterans, right? Some of these lifestyle things, it's not about that for him. It's about the love of the game. It's about getting everything he can out of this game while he's still blessed and able to play it. And when you have a guy who 9 years in a league approached me and we came to an agreement to start working together, and you have a guy who's humble enough to drop his ego and look at everything he's accomplished, a guy who's made 50 million plus, whatever he's made, a guy who's been a starter for 9 years, a guy who's had an incredible career. You're talking about 2 years ago when he approached me, and is willing to look at all that and say, I want more for myself. I want more for myself. I want to commit even more to the process. I want to dig even deeper inside of me. I want to commit even more to this game and see what I can get out of myself. There's nothing more you can ask for as a coach, man. You're talking about a guy with the talent of a Mohamed Sanu, with a skill set and a mastery of his craft of a Mo Sanu, a guy who's been one of the top number 2 receivers in the league his whole career, who is willing to completely reinvent himself, to maximize the things inside of him that were already good, that aren't going to change, that are going to just continue to improve, but get rid of the shit that's holding him back at year 9. Acknowledge those things and drop his ego and be humble enough to listen to the people he put in place around him to help get the most out of him. Do you know how much humble humility that takes for a guy to do that? So when he made that commitment to himself, right? We had a cool conversation together and we talked about, how we've been able to stick with each other through this and not give up on the vision we set for this whole thing. And when he made this commitment to himself, a big reason he made that commitment was because of some of my influence. And when he made the commitment to himself, he also made a commitment to me. And he's very aware of what he's done for my career as well, obviously. Right? Mo put me on the map. Mo has introduced me to most of my clients. Mo has talked positively about me in every public situation he's ever been in. Mo has done everything for me, man. And I've done everything I can for him. I've given him everything. And I think that it's just important to understand, I think, how hard it is to win at this shit and really get yourself to the highest level. I think that guys are often not willing. So again, right, guys aren't willing to break themselves down and want more for themselves because they're surrounded by fans, and even if that's friends or family, surrounded by people that are cheerleaders, constant, positive, yeah, you're the best, you're the king, you're doing this, you're doing that. But in reality, what guys need at the highest level is someone to tell them where they're fucking up. And one of the first conversations I ever had with Mo before we started down this journey was I gave him the book Relentless, written by Tim Grover, and asked him to read it, and he read it. And, because what I needed to know was, what are you trying to get out of the rest of your career? You're year 8, year 9 in the league. Do you just want to, make as much money as you can and live out your career and, have, just be Mo Sanu and enjoy being Mo Sanu? You're trying to get the most out of yourself. Because I'm trying to be the best to ever live. I am drawn to players who look me in the eyes when I ask them questions like this, and it's clear to me how committed they are to themselves and how committed they are to getting the most out of themselves. That's the type of time I'm on. The only way that I can be the best at what I do is if I am paired together with athletes who are committed to being the best at what they do. Not just committed to the next contract, not just committed to playing well enough, committed to getting the most they can out of this game. Because whether you play 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, you know how few people are able to play 10 years in the NFL? How blessed you have to be to play 10 years in the NFL? How good you have to be to play 10 years in the NFL? This shit is hard, man. But there's guys in this league that aren't in it to get the most out of themselves. They're just in it to collect the paychecks or look good in the jersey on Sundays or experience the luxuries that come with being an NFL player. And those are the guys whose careers are short-lived, or those are the guys who might be able to get by on talent and have a reasonably long career, but are the guys who you never really felt like maximized what they had inside them. And it's a different type of commitment. And not even just the commitment, right? It's one thing to say you're committed. Actually following up on the commitment of getting the most out of yourself is like a near impossible task. There's just not a lot of people that are actually willing to do that. Because what happens is you come into the league and you're trying to figure it out for the first 3-4 years, right? For your first contract. You're trying to establish a role on a team. You're just fighting not to get cut. Then you might have a couple hundred yards. You're trying to get to 1,000 yards. You're just trying to establish yourself as a player in this league. And then you hit your second contract. If you're lucky enough, if you're blessed enough to play well enough that you hit your second contract where you're making 30, 40, 50, 60 million dollars. At that point, you're set, right? Like if you're reasonably responsible, at that point, you're in a situation to better your family, to better those around you, to provide yourself with luxuries that you've only dreamt of, right? Like at that point, you've reached all the heights. You've checked every box of why, like I said in the beginning, right? Of kind of my realization of setting a goal for yourself that seems so high and so unattainable, and actually fucking catching it is the craziest feeling. And I'm sure that's what it feels like for some of these guys who get their first big contract. They just got paid $50-60 million for playing the sport of football. That's how I felt when I'm here in Atlanta, like I'm coaching football for myself, working for myself, doing it on my terms, developing some of the greatest players in the world. Who would have fucking thought? But that's winning. And then as soon as you win one time, Winning changes the combination on the locks, and you got to do it all over again. And that's the fucking hardest thing to do. It was much easier to amass 100,000 followers on Instagram, to accumulate, right, 15, 20 NFL clients and look like I'm winning. That was hard. Don't get me wrong. It took a long time. I came from the fucking gutter. Coming from sleeping in a press box to all the shit I did, I came from the gutter through this shit. I'm not going to act like that was easy. But you want to know what's even fucking harder? Realizing that it's not about the Instagram followers. It's not about the clout. It's about the fucking results. It ain't about all the other bullshit. It's about strapping the fuck up and going to work every day in the trenches and getting the most out of my players every single day. It's about not sleeping when I come home after 12 hours on the fucking field and watching the film over and over and over. It's about going back and watching game film every single night so I can come up with better drills for the next day, so that the release drills we do mirror the techniques that they're going to see in their conference against the DBs they're going to play against, so that I can watch situations of how different coverages form and when we catch the ball, where the next defenders are going to come from and how we make that guy miss so we can turn simple plays into touchdowns. It's that sort of fucking commitment. It's not about the other bullshit. It's about bringing results. It's about the fucking results, man. It's about getting better. And that's the fucking special thing in this league, and that's what most people can't do, is looking at a $50 million contract and wanting more for yourself. Looking at I have some trainers who hit me up, man. People in this space who are like, hey, so who you're trying to work with next? And it's like, it's not about that for me. This is not stepping stones to work with the most amount of athletes. This is not me trying to spread my wings to work with as many NFL athletes as possible so I can have them. No, it's about getting the most out of the fucking guys who believe in me. Sure, I'm lucky that it's 15, 20 guys. I'm lucky that I have a lot of clients and that I literally do not have enough hours in the day to serve everyone who wants to be served by me. Every single day, there's not enough hours in the day. That's a fucking great problem to have. But it's not about the names and bragging about who I'm working with. It's about getting the most out of them. It's not about taking Mohamed Sanu and then using that connection to work with Julio Jones. It's about making Mohamed Sanu better than Julio Jones. It's about seeing it's about maximizing the potential of what these guys have inside of them. It's about talking to them about their deepest, darkest secrets, about their wildest dreams that they've never shared, and going and chasing those fucking things. And like I said in the beginning, it's hard for me to talk about without getting emotional, because this shit it's real life, bro. This is not football. It's not 2 hours of cone drills. This is hours spent in my clients' living rooms, apartments, cars, on FaceTime with them, talking about family, friends, money, how to be a professional, how to get more out of themselves, how to study a little bit harder, how to recover a little bit better, how to push themselves a little bit harder the next day. And I'm so blessed and feel so grateful that I'm able to provide this sort of advice, and that my word is able to carry value, and that I've learned from all my mentors I've had that I actually, it's the fucking trippiest thing, man, when you're able to say something to somebody and watch it change their life. Like, I'll give you a quick story. Like, you know, my family, I grew up in a family of Giants fans. Everyone in my family, my grandfather had Giants season tickets. My father used to bring me to games all the time. My aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone's been Giants fans. And I remember some of the clearest memories of my sports fandom are the Giants Super Bowl wins, you know, beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl and things like that. But since working in the NFL, coaching guys at this level, you kind of lose your boyhood fandom, right? You kind of lose that you know, getting obsessed over teams and there's that sort of thing, because it's business, right? It's like if Mo Sanu or Juwan Winfrey or one of my guys is playing the New York Giants, like, it's not about, you know, who I grew up rooting for. It's about business. I need my clients to perform and I want them to win. But one of the coolest moments for me this year has been working with Evan Engram and Darius Slayton, two obviously big parts of the Giants offense. And, you know, it's just trippy realizing how far this whole thing has come, because I remember 3 years ago when the Giants drafted Evan Engram number 10 or whatever it was, I remember like being giddy because I was still a fan. Like I remember calling my family and being like, yo, this is the guy, like he's going to be great. And now going into year 4 of his career, I'm a huge part of his development, and I'm in charge of, you know, him as a football player and as a route runner and you know, kind of the game plan stuff, all that. He's got a great team at Pinnacle Sports in Atlanta with his boy JT, who does a great job with him and kind of does all the strength and conditioning and the speed work and all that. They kind of provide the engine, right? But then here I am, a guy who I was giddy that we drafted because I was a Giants fan 3 years ago. Now I'm his co-pilot in this race. Right now I'm up there helping him get the most out of himself. When you talk about how trippy it is, saying things to someone and watching it change their life, like that's just been what our relationship has been. It's what, you know, it's 100% what my relationship has been with Mo. Mo has gotten more out of me than anyone ever. But this shit with Evan recently has been crazy because you're talking about a kid who has all the talent in the world, who just needed to hear the truth and needed to be told what he had inside of him and needed to be pushed a little bit harder. And you know, a guy who plays at Ole Miss and has all kinds of success and is the number 10 pick in the draft, but then in the eyes of Giants fans or whatever, all this bullshit media and all this shit that you deal with, especially in New York City, everyone talks about he's come up short. He hasn't fulfilled his potential, all this stuff. And all he ever needed was just someone to hold him accountable. Someone to tell him the truth and someone to show him how to do things properly and how to clean up his technique a little bit. And you're going to see this kid take off. But just the fact that I'm in a position to where I can just say the right thing at the right time and it clicks and some kid's life has changed is been one of the coolest realizations and one of the greatest, you know, powers to realize that I could ever imagine having. And, you know, there are words that my mentors throughout my life have said that whether they knew it at the time or not, they're just things that guys have said in my life. Like I said, without my father seeking kind of that sort of same support, there are just these little things that people have said to me along the way that whether they knew it or not stuck with me and helped shape who I am as a person, because I knew it was the right thing and it was the thing I needed to hear in that moment. And I think being in a position to where I am that guy for my clients is trippy. It's mind-blowing, but it feels so right. When I look back at all my experiences as, you know, as a quarterback, as a player, as an athlete, as a human, as a man, as a brother, as a son, it's all led me to this point. And I just, again, just like that's why we shut the cameras off. That's why I haven't posted about what we've been doing this summer. That's why none of y'all have any idea how many fucking guys we've been working with and how great the work has been and the results we've been getting, because it doesn't fucking matter if any of you know. It doesn't matter about anything but the fucking results. Sure, it's not good business, right? So like the Sideline Hustle is bigger than just training NFL players, right? We have been serving the masses and been a real leader in football education for 4 or 5 years now, right? And I take that very seriously. We have a VIP program where guys pay to get coached by me, and we continue to serve that vertical and continue to do a great job with that. Like Sideline Hustle is bigger than all of this, right? Like so I realized that it's not good business to not be active on social media. It's not good for business to be silent. But this is bigger than business. This is guys who are trusting me to be the co-pilot in their professional careers. So excuse me if I put the fucking media down and stopped fucking sharing my opinion and like, nah, man, it was just about finding my own darkness so I could get the most out of myself, which allowed me to get the most out of my athletes. And that is something that most fucking people are not willing to do. Most people want to live in the light where they can be seen, where they can see others, they can compare themselves to others, and they can feel good about where they are in the world, right? But it's very uncomfortable it's very uncomfortable for people to shut those lights off and live in the darkness. But when there's darkness, right, you might not have sight. You might not be able to see exactly what's in front of you, but you have vision. In the darkness, when you're alone and there's nothing to distract you, nothing to take you away from your deepest, darkest thoughts, you have the vision of who you want to be and how you want to do this fucking thing. But you can't find that unless you're willing to live in the darkness. And most of us live in the light where we can be seen and people can see us. But when you have sight, you have no vision. You can't see past what's in front of you. You got to be willing to shut the lights off, turn everything off, and work for what the fuck you say you want. If you really want results that are bigger than yourself, if you're really striving after something, if you have the audacity to say that you want to leave a legacy in this world and you want to be somebody who's talked about after your career is done, right? And we talk about football specifically, and we've said this on many Bean Talks before. If you have the audacity to look me in the eye and say that you want to leave a legacy, you want to be somebody that's talked about when your career is over. You want to be the guy who's invited back to the stadium once a year. You want to be the guy who's when they say the word wide receiver, they talk about you. You want to be that guy. Do you realize how fucking hard you have to work? Do you realize how much you have to sacrifice to leave a legacy? Do you realize how lonely that process is? That to leave a legacy, that means that you're different than everybody else. You've done something nobody else has ever done before. That's why they talk. They don't talk about you because you did the same as everybody else or did just as much as everybody else. They talk about you because you did more than everybody else, because you did something different. To get those sort of results, you have to train differently. You have to prepare differently. You have to find something inside yourself. You have to spend enough time with yourself to where there's something inside here that's not inside anybody else. How do you get that out? Right? That's what I look for people to help do for me. That's what my players and mentors do for me. That's what I do for my players. Whatever the fuck is inside of you, there's something in there that nobody else has. How do we get it out? It's a conversation I had with one of my young players. And I was like, hey, when you're working out with some of the more established players, the Mohamed Sanus, the Devontae Adams, the Stephon Diggs, because he's been around all those guys. When you're working out with those guys, what do you think to yourself? And he was like, oh, I just compare myself to them and I try to think like whatever they do, I want to try and do it just like them or do it a little bit better, blah, 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 right? All this shit that makes sense for a young player to be saying when he's around some of the veteran players in this league. But I was like, fuck that. Fuck what you can get from them. What are they going to learn from you? What do you do? What do you want to be known for? Who are you? Who are you? What do you do that is better than anybody else in the fucking world? Because at the end of the day, if you consider yourself an NFL receiver, you have to do something better than anybody else in the world. You can't be just like everybody else. When you step on the field, what do you bring to the table that nobody can fucking match you on? Most people in this league can't tell you that fucking answer. I had a young kid, a second-year player, come to me last week. We're working on releases, and I go, what's your go-to release in this specific situation on this route? He couldn't tell me. Because most guys don't stop to live in the darkness long enough to figure out who the fuck they are and what they do better than anybody else. All they do is live in the light, taking a release from this Instagram page, a release from that Instagram page, a release from this Stephon Diggs highlight, and they mash it all together and call it a game, and then they get fucking cut in 2 years. Why? Because they can't tell you what they do better than anybody else. They didn't take the time to develop that one skill. They didn't take the time to separate themselves and live in the darkness and figure out what is this vision for who I am as a person and a player, and what sort of structure do I have to put in place to allow myself to live my life the way that it needs to be lived so I can accomplish this fucking goal. You don't just wake up one day and have this shit fucking come true. You work for it day in and day out. And every night you go to sleep, you assess how that day could have been better. You make the changes. You wake up the next day and you attack it even harder. And when you finally earn some fucking money in your career and you have resources coming in, you don't spend it on fucking jewelry and cars and vacations and all this shit. You invest in yourself by hiring fucking better body people, by finding better rehab places, by finding a fucking receivers coach, by finding people who can help elevate your game and continue to allow you to put food on the table the way you know how to. But the minute you stop taking care of the things that got you here, which is your craft and your body and your ability to execute your job, the minute you take those things for granted is the minute your fucking career comes short. It's not about living the NFL lifestyle and the luxuries that are afforded with it and flashing all of the great things that come with being an NFL player. It's not about that. It's about getting the most out of yourself every fucking day. Those are the guys I work with. That's the type of time I'm on. getting the most out of yourself every fucking day. That don't mean you can't go take a vacation in Miami on the weekend, but you better come back Monday ready to fucking work. Otherwise, go work out with somebody else. There's plenty of guys who will fucking put you through cone drills for 2 hours, make an Instagram video about it, hoot and holler, grunt and scream, and call it fucking receiver work and send you on your way and say good luck. That's not what we do here. That's not what I do. I work 365 days a year for my guys. I'm turning clients away at this point because it's not about 2 hours of cone drills. It's about living your life in a way so that everything you do is working towards one singular purpose. If you live life any other way, you're going to be sick in 30 years when you're sitting on your beach house somewhere, having accomplished everything in the world, and you're not at peace with yourself because you know you could have gotten more out of this fucking journey. Ain't nothing worse than that, and I'll be fucking damned if that's me. Some of us watching this right now, some of us living this life, we're going to have that beach house whether we like it or not. We're going to be afforded the luxuries of being able to buy whatever we want. Once you get to that moment and you have that beach house and you have your 5th car and you have your mansion and you have all these things, what do you need to have accomplished in your life to be at peace in that moment? If you did all this just for the Instagram girls and the cars and the jewelry, then cool, bro. There's really nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm not here trying to shame anybody who wants to play in the NFL just to live the life. I think that's admirable, honestly. You fucking are good enough in football to be able to be a celebrity and be like, yo, you won. You won. There's a guy I met on a specific team who is that, right? He's like this caricature of himself. He married a famous supermodel. He's you know, like so he's living that life. Who can blame him? But he's not getting the most out of himself. And I'm just not here. We shut the cameras off for a reason. It's not to say you can't be a great coach and also have the cameras on and document it. You certainly can be. There are plenty of guys who do that. But we shut the cameras off for a reason because I don't need guys. I don't need guys. Because again, I don't think that the value I provide in this ecosystem is best suited to the guys who are living in the light. The guys who are attracted to me, the guys who I'm attracted to naturally in this ecosystem, the guys who we end up working together, are the guys who are looking to get more out of themselves, the guys who are headed down in a dark place and are trying to find their way out and are trying to make something more of themselves or trying to have their backs against the walls a little bit. So it's not about how you look on a fucking Instagram drill. It's about how you're going to keep the lights on fucking Sundays. That's why we shut the fuck up and went to work. And you'll see what the fuck I'm talking about when the results come. Because there's a bunch of dudes that are about to play better than they've ever played. And there's going to be one fucking common denominator. And that work is going to speak for itself. Because if I'm really as good as I think I am at this job, if I'm really as good as I think I am at developing talent and teaching the game of football, then my players will speak for me. The results will speak for themselves. And that's the realization I had to come to. It wasn't fun shutting down Instagram. I love getting 5,000 likes on a post and 145,000 views and people telling me, wow, that technique is great. Wow, this video is awesome. I love this shit. It fucking just like anybody else, right? It's great. But at the end of the day, who do I want to be? How am I going to get there? The Instagram shit, this living in the light wasn't helping me get to where I wanted to get to. And I had to shut the lights off and stay in my own darkness and figure out what seeds I wanted to plant so that when I was ready to come to the light, we were blooming. But most people aren't willing to live in the darkness and shut everything else out and only talk to the people that are helping them get to the place they want to get to. And if you're not willing to make that commitment to yourself, I can't get anything out of you, and I'm not really willing to invest time in you. And that's what I've learned, man, in that long journey where, we moved down here. I moved down to Atlanta with 4 full-time NFL clients. Mohamed Sanu, Juwan Winfrey, Damiere Byrd, Jeff Smith. Those are my 4 main guys we were constantly doing things together. Olamide Zacchaeus for the Falcons, another guy I was working with. And there were dudes who I'd come across, right? Now we've worked with over 20 guys. I've got over 20 clients. And this all happened in the last 4 or 5 months. And while it was happening, it was totally expected and totally unexpected at the same time. I knew I was ready for the moment, and I knew I was perfectly capable of filling this role and helping all these guys get better, but I never expected it to happen this fast, and I wasn't ready for the influx until I was ready. But when you're able just to shut the lights off, you can make sound decisions. You can take a deep breath and shut off everyone's opinions and figure out how to get this done and figure out how you need to structure your life to navigate this journey and produce the end results. Because at the end of the day, it's just about producing the end results in whatever you're doing. If you're doing anything competitive, anything that involves legacy, anything that involves winning, anything that involves being better than the person next to you, there has to be a sense of urgency to get there, and you have to be willing to shut the lights off. Because at the end of the day, there is no how-to book. You know how often I get questions of, hey, I just started coaching here. Any tips you can give me? Hey, I want to do what you do. How do I get there? There is no blueprint to this shit. There is no 10 easy steps, like Tim Grover says all the time. It's this journey to find yourself and get the most out of yourself and figure out what you're passionate about. What do you really want to get out of all this? What do you need to have accomplished so that you're at peace in 30 years? Really ask yourself that. What is the highest version of yourself? What is the highest version of yourself that you think you can pursue? And are you willing to make the sacrifices necessary to go pursue that person? And are you willing to give everything to chase that result without any guarantees of getting there? Because we could be chasing some of these goals that I tell you that I set with my players that you would laugh at. We are fully aware that we might sacrifice family, friends, luxuries, time. We're going to give everything for this one singular purpose and still might fall short because you're never guaranteed whether you're going to catch this shit. All you can do is chase it and chase it and chase it and hope that the stars aligned, that your greatest performance happens at the right time and gets you to that level you need to get to. But there's no fucking guarantee. All we can do is believe in each other and believe in the vision and work blindly towards it. But there's no guarantee that we're going to catch it. And for this show and for Bean Talk and for what I want to do, in this new studio setting and in this new show, like a lot of our content now for Sideline Hustle is going to be strictly through these sort of mediums. There's not going to be a lot of day-to-day teaching and this sort of stuff. There'll be some of it, and we're going to try and maximize this content, but this is the platform now. Because what I want to do right here is I acknowledge what this journey has been. I've truly been a kid from the gutter, went from sleeping in a press box at the University at Albany to now working for himself, built one of the strongest brands in the space and trained some of the best players in the world. I want to tell more about what I've learned on this journey. I want to bring my players in here. Every episode, we're going to have different coaches, different players on who are going to share similar journeys. Because I think that's part of this family we've created at the Sideline Hustle. It's built on getting the most out of yourself. It's built on these shared visions of greatness. But I think part of what makes it special is that I am having the same come up I'm pushing my players to have. They're watching me elevate and have no choice but to keep up or get left behind. And so it's been this incredible combination of energies of all of us working towards a similar goal, trying to get and realizing that the only way to get there is to get the most out of ourselves. And that's been a pretty incredible thing to chase alongside these guys. And I want to bring them in studio to share their journeys with you of how they started, how they got here, what they've learned, specifically get into specific receiver talk and talk about what we've worked on this offseason and how it's improved their game and things that, players, coaches that are listening, you guys can take from this. But most so, I think I just want to show the real side of this thing, man. I think that the media portrays a very unfair and very unrealistic view of what it's like playing in the NFL and who a lot of these guys are. I think we're able to see the real side of who these players are and how they live their lives and what it really takes to succeed at this level. And I think a lot of the narrative that's out there about what it really takes is false and misguided. And I want to create a platform and create a show that kind of really shares that real narrative and let the players tell it when they're here sitting next to me. Share it from my point of view and what I've learned working with some of the best over the last I've been coaching for 10 years, working with NFL athletes over the last 4. So it's all new to me too. But also I'm very mindful about every step I've taken to get here. It's all been very purposeful. And I know that I'm here for a reason. And I know who the fuck I am. And I know the results I'm capable of delivering. Just like a player knows that when he steps on the field, he's the coldest motherfucker there and he can't be covered by anybody. I know that if you step on the field with me as a player, I will make you better. That is my power that I will never give up. It's not to say I'm the only one that can do that, but once you realize that you have that sort of power, that you have a gift from God, it is your job to maximize that power and live that truth and live that purpose and share that with the world and bring as many people along with you as you can. And I think that's the journey we're on. And that's what I want to share in these sort of, no time limit discussions with athletes and coaches, and just talk about life, man. I just sat here in a dark room by myself. Well, actually a well-lit room thanks to the content team at the Sideline Hustle in our new studio. I just sat here in a room by myself and just went on, bro. There's just stuff on my heart that I need to get out. And this has been a crazy journey. And I think for a while, here's what I'll end this on. I didn't really realize my own talent and my own gift until well after Mohamed Sanu saw it in me. And I think it's a lesson for people to learn that even as I was posting things on Instagram and going on these bean talks and going on these rants and motivating you guys, like, even though I knew what I was talking about was right, I didn't realize that I saw the game a little bit differently than everybody else. I didn't realize that that I'm teaching the game a little bit differently than everybody else. I didn't realize that I'm doing things that bring results that are very rare and very hard to duplicate. I just didn't realize how great I really was at this until recently. And I think that believing in yourself is just an important lesson through all this, because I had these visions of who I wanted to be. I had the ultimate vision, right? I had the dark side of who I wanted to be and what I needed to accomplish and what my highest self was. But the darker side, the day-to-day pursuit of that vision, was often muddled by self-doubt, because I had set a goal that felt pretty unfathomable to me, which was going from being this backup D3 quarterback. Luckily, I went to Wesleyan University, the same school as Bill Belichick. So it was like this weird thing where, I was playing quarterback, was good, was a good player, but then hurt my shoulder, and started coaching, started running the scout team, stuff like that. And then the coaches were honest with me and said they were going to start a younger guy once I got healthy. So they were like, but hey, you did a good job running the scout team. Would you like to coach? And in that moment, I was like, hey, fuck yeah, I love that shit. Let's do it. And if Bill Belichick went here and he has the same background as me and he's the best ever, like, shit, there's no way he could be that much smarter than me. So let me go for this thing and see where we end up. And to remember that belief and to have taken that into what this is now, is pretty special. And obviously I believed in myself, but I think about the turmoil I put myself through along the way. And a lot of it was probably necessary and a lot of it probably was essential to the growth process. But I think that just the lesson of all that going forward, it's not even about regrets or wanting to change anything from the past, because I wouldn't change a thing. But I think a lesson going forward is just, when you feel like you have something great inside of you, like, just believe that shit blindly. And don't wait for affirmation from the outside. Like, I always knew I was this good at coaching. I always knew I was this good at developing talent. But I played all these games with myself inside my head about, like when Mo first hired me, I had convinced myself that he just hired me because, we were boys or we thought we could be boys. Like I didn't even realize in the beginning that he hired me to help take his game to the next level. This was all, I was just ripping and running, man. I was just creating content and taking this opportunity and meeting this guy and trying to help and provide value any way I could. But I didn't even realize, when Mo first hired me, I didn't even realize I was capable of taking his game to the next level. I was shocked that he even saw value in me. And it wasn't really until he went from practice squad to starter in 2 weeks. I've had a few moments, right? Juwan Winfrey was my first ever NFL client. And Juwan hired me. We met via Twitter on some random play that I did a teach tape on, right? A Dino route he ran in college for a touchdown at Colorado. And I broke that down. We got connected, realized he was from New Jersey. We started training, right? And then, we started working together before his senior year at Colorado. He had a good year at Colorado. And then I trained him before the draft. He was supposed to be this undrafted player. No one had him on any draft boards. And then the Broncos ended up trading up to draft him in the 6th round because they loved his workout. He showed up at a workout and ran such crisp routes, they couldn't believe it. So that a lot of that was a testament to our work. So that was the first kind of moment where I was like, oh shit, I'm pretty good at this, right? But for whatever reason, I continued to doubt myself and continued to convince myself that I wasn't that good, or there were other people just like me or whatever. And then even when Mo hired me, I was like, oh man, I was lucky. I'm fortunate. I'm whatever, right? And it wasn't until Mo got cut and all my visions and all my plans for what we were going to do in New England and how Mo was going to go for 1,200 yards in New England and all this shit we talked about. It wasn't until he got cut and my back was against the wall and I'm sitting there like, holy shit, I just got my first big break and I failed. I had one of the best receivers in the NFL and a 9-year starter in the NFL hire me to take his game to the next level, and the first thing we did was get cut. Like, I failed. And it wasn't until my back was against the wall and Mo still looked at me to help continue to elevate him and still trusted me to be part of this process with him that I started to realize how great I was in that darkness. Because when my back was against the wall and there was nobody that could get us out of the situation but the two of us and the other members of our team, when we're, sitting there and I'll never forget the days after getting cut, just sitting in that apartment, in his apartment in Boston in silence. Just all those things you think about, right? It wasn't until I saw him score on Thanksgiving Day for the Detroit Lions that I kind of realized, like, oh shit, like we really did this. Like, oh, I'm different. I'm doing something a little different. I'm producing results that I don't know who else could produce these results. I'm sure there are other coaches who are doing great things and could have gotten that sort of stuff out of Mo or anyone else. I've just not seen it. You know what I'm saying? I was just realizing, like, holy shit, we did something really special here. And a guy who trusted me, that I thought that Mo hired me so that he could produce numbers he'd never produced. And it turns out the way the higher powers work, I came into Mo's life at a time when he was going to need more support than ever to not get forced out of the league in a lot of ways. Where he was going to go through more adversity than he'd ever been through in his career. And who knows how it would have turned out if he hadn't put this team around him before that. Who knows? It's not easy to get cut for the first time in year 9 and bounce back from that by yourself. Who knows? And when you realize, so then when you start to judge your own success, it's not based on the numbers or anything, it's based on the results. And the results in that year were to get Mo back to being Mo. And when he did that, when I saw him go for a full go from, being the one of the top number 2 receivers in the league, Mo Sanu, who everyone knew, Julio Jones' sidekick, all this shit, right? To then get cut and underperform in New England and all this shit and get cut again in San Francisco and then go back and you turn on the fucking practice film from him in Detroit and you turn on the game film from him in Detroit, he's doing things he's never done in his entire life. It's not about what the media portrays or what y'all want to talk about in the comments. Turn on the fucking film. The film don't lie. And I've been watching this game too. I used to trick myself into thinking, hey, maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I used to trick myself into thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm making this shit up. Maybe these other people know better. No, fuck that. I knew exactly what the fuck I was talking about. I knew exactly what the fuck I was looking at. And if you turn on the film fucking proves it. Because it's about the fucking results, not about what the fuck y'all think. And once I realized that was the first time in my life, fucking year 9 of my own career, my own coaching career. Last year was year 9 for me. Was the first time I really started believing in my damn self. And believing, oh, I'm fucking out here like this. I really can coach players at the highest level and make anybody fucking better. If you step on a field with me, give me 2 weeks, I will change your fucking life. I promise you. And realizing that power, I'm in a whole different bag. Now I got a whole different fucking duffel now. Because y'all done fucked up. Because there's the thing that no one realized about me. I didn't start Bean Talk and start Sideline Hustle and start these Instagram pages to be a fucking celebrity. I did it to coach players at the highest level, and now I'm doing that, so it was time for me to shut the fuck up and go to work. Spent too much time last year talking about what Mo was going to do, talking about this. And when it didn't happen, I felt like I put Mo in a bad place. And I put unnecessary pressure or expectations or created a narrative about him that just was unnecessary. Because all that mattered was living in darkness and getting better every day. But there's a lesson to believing in yourself throughout this whole thing, because I've struggled with self-doubt, and it's just, I won't have it anymore. The results speak for themselves, like I said. There's too many guys that have come to me, asked me for help, and seen fucking results that nobody else in their life could deliver for me to continue doubting myself. This is what I was put on this earth to do. I was born to be who the fuck I am today. To be someone who can, like I said, I'm blessed enough to where I can say something to someone and it can change their life. I don't know how the fuck it happens. I don't know where the fuck it comes from, but I know that I've dedicated everything I have to this game and to this purpose and to who I am currently as a human being. And it doesn't surprise me that we're here. It's a blessing. It's fucking crazy. But now it's just time to go to work. It's not about like this is exactly who I wanted to be. I think another one of the best pieces of advice I ever got from Coach Dub was there was a clip from one of the last clips we posted early in the offseason. There was a clip of Anthony Miller running a really good comeback route, and he kind of looked better than he's ever looked. And Dub hit me like, okay, now you're doing it. Like now you're starting to make these guys look different. Dudes are going to start to recognize, and they're going to start to come to you. And your inbox is going to be full of athletes trying to work with you that you never thought you'd hear from. And you're going to be, you're going to be hit up by guys, this shit's about to go crazy for you. And he said, listen, here's my advice. Shed your old skin and walk into your new skin. Recognize that the way God works, the way everything worked out for you, this is what your destiny is. This is what your calling is. This is who you are. You can't question it. You can't doubt it. You just have to live it. Shed your old skin and embrace who you are and embrace this path that you're walking down. Because he was like, there's still a little bit of high school, college coach Drew in there. You got to shed that. You're the baddest motherfucker in the world now. And be that guy every single day. Because that's who my players are relying on me to be. My players hired me to bring results nobody else could bring. The only way I can do that is by being the baddest motherfucker in the world at what I do and believing that in myself, because that is it, right? The number one thing we've done here at the Sideline Hustle is we've built a family of people who believe in themselves more than they've ever believed in themselves. And yes, it's because of the work. Yes, it's because of the improved abilities they have on the field, but it's more about this right here. It's more about challenging you. It's about living and walking my purpose, so that when I speak these things to people, I am a living example of fucking living as close to that truth as I can. And that's my challenge every single day, is actually living by the words I preach better than they do. My athletes don't come to me because I have a dark side that's similar to theirs. My athletes don't come to me because I have a passion that's similar to theirs. They come to me because I have a fucking fire burning inside of me that I don't know if anybody fucking has. Because my dark side might be darker than everyone's fucking dark side around me. That's why I'm able to bring it out of everybody. Because you can't fake this shit. How do you do what I do? All these people that message me and say, hey, I want to do what you do. Where do I start? I just fucking told you where my shit was built, in the fucking darkness. You try going through what I've gone through, living in a fucking press box for the first 8 months of your coaching career, making $6,000 for the year, and then moving to Rutgers and working there for 3 straight years, living in the facility. Coaching football 20 hours a day. And then you go to Wesley. Just go fucking attack it on your own journey and give everything you have to it. There is no blueprint to this shit. It's getting the most out of yourself every single day, no matter what that looks like. But that's what this show is going to be about. The real shit. That's what Bean Talk is. The real shit. This is how the fuck it's really done. This is how it really goes down. This is what it really is. Bean Talk. Coming to you soon. That's a Beanski, baby. Happy to be back. Your boy, Coach Liebs, on the ones and twos. Man, that felt good. In my darkness, in my duffel. Brand new studio. Shout out to the team real quick. Last thing I want to say. Shout out to my team. First and foremost, Dario Highsmith, who's my right-hand man, my go-to guy, my assistant coach, does everything for me and with me. Like, literally, you don't see me anymore without seeing Dario. Shout out to him. Shout out to Riley Clinton in the Boulder Media House. They have been the catalyst to our content upgrade and some of the routes like Picasso stuff. They're really taking our content to the next level and have really just, helped all of this come down and happen. Shout out to Coach Max and Coach Justin, our two kind of assistant virtual coaches. Max holding it down in Europe. Justin's holding it down in North Carolina. And then last but not least, shout out to my mother. I don't know if a lot of y'all know this, but my mom runs my business with me. She's my co-pilot, and she's the one who helps me see and who helps me set the vision, helps keep everything in order. And it's not always pretty, but she works her ass off. We work our ass off together, and we've really been on this journey together for 4 years. So just shout out to the team, and shout out to my players as well. Wouldn't be possible without all y'all. But I'm really excited for this show. I'm really excited for this journey we're on, and I'm excited to start to share it with y'all again. That's all I got. See y'all next time. Peace.
See, from the sidelines, we gotta hustle, cause we gotta eat. From the sidelines, we got some goals that we still gotta reach. Yeah.